clearly. And not only that, we knew all the efforts being made to ensure that they occupy parts of Nigeria. That started from Ruga, up till Katu Colony, up to the recent move in the National Assembly to create for the federal government to annex all the waters on the land in order to create settlement, including the banks, to create settlements.
I think that
Fulani's cattle, nobody can deny it. It's all coming together now. And people are beginning to wonder, at times I wonder when people talk about the issue of Christianity or Muslim, Christian ticket. Is that the issue facing us currently or the issue of security? This is a country where Mr. President is being threatened with kidnapping. The governor of Kaduna State is being threatened with kidnapping. And we've seen them into Abuja. Schools have been closed down, and people are talking about Muslim, as if this terrorist trying to destroy our country even cares about anybody's religion. We have come to a state where the primary function of government, which is security of lives and property, is no longer being guaranteed. So within that context, one can understand the position of the National Assembly, who hitherto had been very, very compliant, been useful agents for the Buhari administration to now turn around and abandon their duty post, threatening impeachment, when in reality they are actually afraid of staying in Abuja for fear of being kidnapped. Because for Mr. President to be threatened with kidnap, and then the way they move into Kuje Correctional Center with impunity, it's baffling. It is baffling. There is no other way to explain government complacency other than to describe it, or government inaction or poor action, as an attitude of passivity, of mute indifference, or sometimes of cold complicity. We have gone through this several times. We are told Tucano will do the job. We bought the Tucanos. Nothing has happened. We are moving from frying pan to fire. Buhari inherited insecurity in the Northeast. That insecurity spread to Northwest. From Northwest is coming to the center.
The presidential candidate, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, has spoken on this issue of impeachment. I'd like to quote him directly. He did say that he warned the National Assembly on this issue, and he said that, I'd like to quote him, "I do not know the facts that they have," talking about the members of the National Assembly, "but as their former colleague, I want them to tread softly, and they should not be in a hurry to rock the boat." What exactly did you think he meant? Because this has all kinds of political undertones, and they're subject to all kinds of interpretation. What would yours be?
Yes, in my own interpretation, Kwankwaso is saying that there's an electoral process which certainly would lead to the termination of the lifespan of the Buhari regime. And therefore, there is no need to rock the boat by impeaching him now, which could create another crisis, political crisis in the country. That's basically what Kwankwaso is referring to. It's referring to the electoral process. Apart from that, I don't even think they have the numbers currently to impeach Mr. President. As it stands today, I don't think they have the numbers. Mr. President. There are so many of the actors with their stooges in National Assembly who, in any case, will frustrate it. I cannot see people like Obi, like Atiku, like Tinubu, and others who are hoping to have an opportunity, to become the president of the country through the ballots, will now support a move that will create a political crisis in the country. I don't think they will be able to do that now. But what I foresee is that what could actually lead to real impeachment is when a state of emergency is created in the country, when Aso Rock is attacked in a way that the legislators will not reasonably sit in the National Assembly again, and there's a serious, risk, of security breakdown in the seat of Abuja, which is the seat of power, then that probably may end up leading to impeachment. But I don't think the current threat will lead to impeachment.
Does he have to get to that? Because, it's one thing to say, well, maybe because it's hitting hard or it's hitting close to home now, and that's why members of the National Assembly seem to be acting. Dumebi Kachiku, who is the presidential candidate for the ADC, had called what happened on the floor of the National Assembly self-serving. He's looking at the political undertone of this. He's saying that, look, these men are doing this because it now affects them. What about when it was hitting other people? But I'm still asking my first question. Why do we have to wait for things to get so bad for us to finally declare a state of emergency? And when we talk about states of emergency, let's not forget that that means that all political or electoral powers, one way or the other, will be jettisoned. And we're talking about a military takeover of sorts, when we ask for a state of emergency, if we are looking at it in its entirety.
No, not necessarily. It doesn't have to be to military taking over power. The state of emergency can be declared by any governor or the president where there are serious breaches, to the security of lives and property. And if, in their view, in line with our constitution, the Nigerian police force cannot manage it, then they are likely going to invite the military in. And that will be under a state of emergency. Otherwise, the military has no role in policing in a democracy. So, and that is the situation where, as many people think that these guys are no longer bluffing, these terrorists are no longer bluffing, we have seen the incapacity or our security forces unable to contain them. If this tendency and this trend continues, the most likely is that if there's an attack on Abuja, a serious attack on Asura, then that will create a serious state of emergency in our country. And if that should that happen, that may also affect the political process going on, the electoral process going on in the country. And should that happen, that may galvanize all the politicians in the country to say, we need to find a solution to this problem. Mr. President, maybe you are the problem. Maybe you need to step aside. So that will be a formal resolution one way or the other. And I think that is when impeachment is likely. Currently, I don't think this National Assembly can impeach the president. They are too compliant, but I reject the point that they've not been complaining about threats to the lives of other people. They have been complaining about it. It means that nothing happened, and they didn't take any step to ensure that, there's a difference in the situation beyond the talk show. So because of that, you can condemn them for that. Now, the chicken has come home to roost. They have now realized that they could also be victims of what many Nigerians, thousands of Nigerians have been victims of. So I don't necessarily believe that this impeachment threat will come to fruition. I think it's just a warning, and eventually we may or may not get to that point. It depends on how far the terrorists can create chaos.
We keep talking about solutions here. We keep saying that, solutions have to be provided. I have sat through 2 years of speaking with different security operatives, security experts, and they have come up with very doable ideas and solutions that can help the insecurity in the country. But then there's always a recurrent, statement about the political will on the path of Mr. President. But let's not just put the president here on the chopping board. Of course, the government that we have, it's a 3-tier government. We have, of course, the executive, we have the legislature, we have the judiciary. And in terms of issues like this, the judiciary might not necessarily be called upon to be part of this. But the legislature and the executive have a serious role to play. And you did mention that there's been a lot more of talk shopping than getting or pushing the hand of the president. So could it be, again, that maybe because the legislature has not been taken seriously by the executive, or maybe the legislature has made itself not as serious to be taken serious by Mr. President, hence the talk shopping? Again, I'm asking, how do we get that political will out of Mr. President, who keeps traveling out for every time there's some hit or insecurity or kidnapping, and even the body language does not seemingly be that of a person who's interested in what's happening? Where do you fish out the political will from that kind of person?
Yeah, in relation to political will, I doubt whether we can get that out of Mr. President. He has already told the whole country that he's tired, he wants to go. The question is, should he be pushed or be allowed to work in line with the electoral timetable? The problem of political will has something to do with his own personal relationship with the people creating the problems in the country. Nobody can deny the fact that we know where these people are. The government cannot deny knowing where the terrorists are. We allow this thing to fester, up to this point. I remember clearly, Nasser El-Rufai, in his first time, did tell the whole country that he even paid to these terrorists outside the country, who are robbing and who are plundering the resources of this country and killing our people. He openly admitted to that, so he knew where they are. We also know that the former president also had a meeting with the view to reconcile, the terrorists, with the Nigerian state. But again, they met somewhere. We knew that Tony also had meetings with them in the past, and we know that his publicity secretary of Sheikh Gumi and also Gumi himself have been meeting and brokering peace with these people. They are fully involved in negotiations. So we cannot deny knowing where they are. That's one. Number two, when you look at the issue of the list of sponsors of terrorism, UAE, United Arab Emirates, came out with the list. We were told that we have over 400 names of 400 people who are sponsors of terrorism, by the Attorney General of the Federation, Malami, but they could not do anything since courts were on strike at that point. Courts were not sitting at that point in time. Now courts resumed, nothing happened. Courts have been sitting, 100 terrorists or sponsors of terrorism have not been arraigned in court. So there's absolutely lack of political will stemming from an attitude of passivity, mute indifference, and cold complacency. These are the facts as they stand today, in my view.
Finally, before I let you go, Mr. Showmi, what is the fate of the average Nigerian? I'll tell you where I'm going with this. Recently, the Honorable Minister of Information, Mr. Lai Mohammed, has come out to say that they will be meting out sanctions to Daily Trust, of course, and the BBC, which is the British Broadcasting Media House, who put out a documentary. I'm sure that you've seen that documentary. It's out in the public space, talking to these so-called terrorists, mostly those who have laid down their weapons, also getting down to the crux of the matter, the story underneath what is causing the terrorism that we have in the country. Now, if outsiders, like you mentioned, the UAE, in all their, they were very generous to us to give us a list of people who they call sponsors of these terrorists in our country. That's the UAE. Of course, the Brits have also come up with a documentary telling us what is at the root of the problem and why we're facing what we're facing today. And of course, Daily Trust has brought up their own side of the story, but our government is saying that these people will be sanctioned for going to the bottom of this matter and trying to make sense of it all. Where does that leave the average Nigerian? If others, outsiders, are very interested in what we're dealing with, what we're suffering from, most interested than the people who call themselves our government. What does the future hold for us?
Yeah, it all shows, look, when I had, I actually watched the video, and when I had the response of the Minister for Information, I laughed my head off. I laughed and said, look, why are they irritated? They've been rattled by the disclosure made by that terrorist who was honored with a chieftaincy title, by the emir of his in Nasrallah, in Zamfara. Now, we all know these things. Government knows these things. They failed to act. They failed to do anything about it. The man in question, that terrorist in question, was declared wanted by the Nigerian police force. And right in the nose of the Nigerian state, the same terrorist was being honored with the chieftaincy title. That is what like Muhammad be addressing. How come they missed the arrest of that man before he was given, that chieftaincy title? He should start complaining about, BBC, who in any case only came to interrogate the man to try and find out, what happened, how did he manage to get to where he has found himself as an honorable person while a terrorist, and at the same time trying to help the Nigerian state with thorough investigation so that we understand what the problem is, why they are fighting, and what we've not been able to resolve. Is that what Mr. Like Mohammed is complaining about? I feel sorry for this country and for the leadership of our country.
Well, I want to say thank you. Biodun Shomi is a political analyst. Thank you for being part of the conversation. We're hoping that something positive comes out of this. We appreciate you for being here. All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing the battles within the PDP in Ebonyi State. Stay with us. It's still Plus Politics now, the leadership talk.
I think that we should talk to ourselves first before we're even worried about what people are thinking about us. We overvalue the opinion of other people. We don't value ourselves. We don't value our people.
But isn't that why we should tell our own story?
To ourselves.
Yes, first.
You understand?
Yes.
So we won't be talking about telling African story because we didn't wake up this morning and think first and foremost I'm African. I think I'm Nigerian.
That's what I'm saying.
You understand? So in Nigeria...
Yeah.
Now, as a consequence, the party currently has what is described as Ogba Group, the Anya Chuks group in the state, a situation that political pundits might jeopardize the chances of the party winning the elections in the state come 2023. Now, on Monday, May 2nd, 2022, ONU took over the leadership of the PDP, having received the backing of the national leadership of the party. Miffed by his sudden sack, Okori proceeded to the appeal court of Abuja to sought for a stay of pending the determination of the substantive suit. Now, on May 31, fast forward, the National Working Committee of the PDP recognized Okori as its authentic chairman in Ebonyi State. Well, joining us to discuss this and break it down is Charles Otu. He is a political analyst and is joining us from Ebonyi. Thank you so much, Mr. Otu, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's very interesting to see the turn of events within the PDP in Ebonyi State. I mean, it's very unusual to see the tussle that we're seeing today. And the national of the party seems to be in the middle of this. It reminds me of something that I've seen before. And now, also, I see that in the midst of this is two former governors, a sitting governor, and of course, Iyorchia Ayu, which is the national leader of the party. What exactly, paint a picture to us about what's really happening right now.
Thank you very much. The crisis is, like you must have heard in the news, self-inflicted. That conflicted, I would say, because the party, after the defection of the man on November 19th, 2020, a lot of persons felt, oh, they have left in body, but the soul and spirit of the party is intact. But the events that played out shortly showed women who were desperate. They were not only desperate to grab power, they were not ready to trade a bargain or pedal or giving anything another. The party can survive and beat the party with the 2023 election. Now, it all started like the issues in court now are recent development. On the 16th of October 2021, when the party held its state congress, and going from the first week of October, when it started the World Congress, that was the origin of the crisis. And those of us who were monitoring events in the city, who were also physically available in some of the congresses, particularly the state congress, we could see people who were in a hurry to destroy the best, people who were out to find personal survivors. Of course, you know that when the man left the PDP, the party that were in contention was about democracy. And the former Senate President, Senator Empire, quickly moved in and was recognized as leader of the party in the state. The PDP carried on till that Congress point. A lot of those who felt that, okay, Senator Empire as the party should have brought a leader from within the select individuals of the party in the state. But of course, he himself and the other stakeholders prepared Mr. Toshiko Kori, who had all along been based in Abuja. So this did not go down well with those who had been supporting physically and openly Mr. Salah, who was the publicity of the party on the interim basis before the Congress. Mr. Omo had done quite impressively. Having
Mr. Otto, I think we're having a little problem with your audio. We're going to fix that. We'll take just a quick break and fix that, and then we'll come back because we're losing some of the important things that you're telling us. We'll be right back after this break. It's still Plus Politics. We're still speaking with a political analyst in Ebonyi State, Charles Otu. Mr. Otu, before that break, we were still talking about the situation that, of course, threw up Okorie and, of course, Onu. Now, I'm sure that you are aware that Okorie is demanding a 2 billion naira. He's saying that this has to be paid for libel. He's demanding this from Onu. Saying that they have to pay for damages. Again, how feasible is this? And like I said at the beginning, the national of the party seems to be in the middle of this war. There are counter accusations, statements are being issued back and forth. Why can't the party solve this problem? I know that the PDP keeps saying constituting committees to address issues, but have these issues been addressed in its entirety, and how would this affect the elections come 2023?
Thank you very much. You were very right when you pointed out that the party's national leadership has been at the middle of this. Now, it was the indecision, like I was trying to point out, of the national leadership of the party to stamp its authority, especially when the Court of Appeal when the Federal High Court sacked Okori, that made it difficult for the party to make progress quickly. Now, when Okori was sacked, there were supposed to be an appeal that should be filed immediately. Well, without diving into the merits, we were meant to understand that that was not immediately done. Now, what that meant was that at the end of when the processes were all filed, the party had issued directives and counter directives. It has said in a press statement by the public secretary of the party at the national level that the Congress, the state primaries will hold on the 28th and 29th. Midway to that, the same party issued a counter directive and said, look, that it has been postponed. And having, communicated INEC and all of that, the Anyishuk's faction, popularly known as Anyishuk's, went ahead to hold that primaries. The other faction stayed away from it because they felt that the counter announcement of the party will prevail, and they fixed the 4th and 5th of June for their own faction.
Now,
and in all of this, you see a party's national leadership that was not decisive. It did appear from what we have gathered that the national leadership of the party were taking, they were divided. Some were siding Anyishuk's, the other was siding Ogba. And at the end of the day, the crisis of who takes over the party's ticket as the national candidate of the party, of the presidential candidate of the party, did not help matters. We learned authoritatively that while Atiku was backing Anyishuk's, the other group, that is Ogba group, were backed by Wike. That further polarized the party at the national level.
Interesting. Now,
and that is what has continued to play out.
Now, the court at some point had declared the rescheduled Ebonyi primaries as invalid. So as it stands, there's yet to be someone who the party can point to as its candidate getting set for the 2020 elections. And I did ask, I think a couple of times, what does the future portend for the Ebonyi State PDP? Whether the national deals with this issue or not, is there an end in sight? And does this, one way or the other, might this cost them the ticket come 2023 if it's not being dealt with?
Okay, a quick one, correction for that matter is that the party did submit, based on the Federal High Court ruling, the name of Ifeanyi Chukwudi as the candidate of the PDP. So it is not vacant, it is not in contention. For now, until a superior court speaks otherwise, Ifeanyi Chukwudi is the authentic candidate of the PDP. Now, that is on one hand. And then you look at the issue of the Court of Appeal decision that asked that the matter, the court verdict that declared Anyishuk's the authentic flag bearer of the party, having been shortlisted by INEC, that it should be retried and revisited. One, the Court of Appeal made two significant decisions. First was that it should be retried. Secondly, that the Federal High Court, the Chief Justice of the Federal High Court, should reassign the matter for retrial to a different judge. So now, when you look at this, you see them going back to the drawing board. The implication is that the party is battling to beat time and may not beat time because everything about substitution of candidates, windows for new fresh primaries will be closing within this middle of August. Now, this is August 1. The party just have about 2 weeks or thereabout to sort itself out. Now, the Anyishuk's, that is Ifeanyi Udui, has proceeded to the Supreme Court to appeal the Court of Appeal decision, asking for a retrial of the decision of the earlier decision of the Federal High Court in Abakaliki. Now, before the Supreme Court will sit on the matter to decide whether to uphold the prayers of Anyishuk's or to throw them back again to give backing to the Court of Appeal earlier ruling that the matter should be retried, the whole window for substitution would have been foreclosed.
Does this
So
mean that we're going to see?
If it continues the way it is going, the party may not have a candidate for the 2023 elections.
Exactly, because I was going to say, we know that, you know, in the midst of all of this, we see, you know, a crisscrossing, an exodus of sorts. Might that also happen because of this imbroglio? Do we see people leaving the PDP if they do not get a fair hearing on this matter going forward?
Of course, people have started leaving the party already. Yeah, of course, from my intelligence, some of the party supporters have already started leaving the party. Why do I say so? I say so because if you had read in the news recently, you would have seen some of them decamping to other parties, some to APC, some to ABGA, some to other parties in the state. Now, what this means is that some of them who feel they may not have the patience to go through the litigation hall from the lower court again to Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, some of them feel that the best thing they can do is to find a candidate in another party to support. And some have started moving already. That is already on course. What you should take away from this, Marianne, is that a party may have a Zamfara and Rivers scenario that played out in the APC in 2019. And the two candidates that are contending for this governorship ticket seem very desperate to ensure that the party gets to that level. So that is the truth. And that is the fact about what is going on in Ebonyi.
Well, I want to say thank you. Charles Otu is a political analyst and he joined us from Ebonyi State. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation. We'll keep our eyes on this story as it develops.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's time for my take. Before we wrap up the show tonight, I'd like to give you my take. Here's my take. It's interesting that in 2022, we're still talking about solutions to the problem of terrorism. Yes, terrorism is not something that you can beat in one day. Terrorism is not a fight that we can fight in one day because it is not a usual warfare. It's a guerrilla warfare. So I'm wondering, last year, the UAE helped us by getting the people who decided to fund terrorism. They helped us out to give us the list of those people. What happened to the list? Also, recently, the BBC has come up with a documentary going into the nooks and the crannies of this country to find out what is at the bottom of the terrorism that has been taking the lives of innocent Nigerians, ripping mothers from their children, killings and torturings, and of course, even Nigerians who have no money, crowdfunding to get their loved ones out from the kidnappers' den. But our government has decided that they will fight the BBC, that they will fight Daily Trust. These are journalists who have come from outside the country, talking about the BBC, to help us get to the bottom of our problem. So I ask Nigerians, help me. Why is it that outsiders are most interested and place more value on human lives than the governments that we have in place? Of course, Mr. President has told us that he's done his best, but my question is your best good enough, Mr. President? Again, I ask the government of the day, why are we still thinking like we do not know what to do to deal with the issue of insecurity? Is the president's hands tied? What is happening to our security officials? We said we needed Tucano jets. The Tucano jets are here. What are we doing with it? How long will we keep losing innocent lives of Nigerians? For a government who really, really wanted to govern us, Mr. President, you tried so many times to be president of this country, and finally, you were given the opportunity. Is this what you wanted for us at the beginning? Is this what you want to leave at the end as a legacy? I'm wondering, how long will we stay in this place, wondering, gnashing our teeth, and hoping that somebody will come save us? I'm guessing that our leaders should be our savior. Okay, people are saying we want to impeach Mr. President, and some others are saying, oh, well, it's political. Where does the life of the average Nigerian come in? I'd like to say Kadaria Ahmed put out a statement, a very long one, talking about the fact that the Nigerian media is glorifying, terrorism. But how do we make sure that we get to the solutions of our problems if we cannot tell the story behind the problem of terrorism? So I leave it to you, Nigerians. Think, act wisely. Elections are around the corner. If you are campaigning for somebody, find out where that person stands on this issue of insecurity. Maybe that might inform who you vote for. I am Mary Arnicle. This is my take.
In Nigeria, it is believed in many quarters that no matter the amount of wealth one amasses, a degree from a university supersedes everything. We'll be looking at 5 of your favorite celebrities who went back to school after gaining fame. Davido. Davido returned to Babcock University to bag a degree in music. Davido graduated in 2015. He attempted to take part in the mandatory National Youth Service Corps program, but that dream was cut short controversially. DJ Cuppy. Prior to joining the entertainment industry, DJ Cuppy already had a degree in business and economics from King's College in London. In 2015, she went back to the prestigious New York University where she bagged a master's degree in music business. In 2021, Cuppy gained admission to the prestigious University of Oxford to pursue a master's degree in African Studies. Rema's overnight rise to prominence as a teenager came with a lot of questions in 2022. The music star announced that he was going to further his education. According to him, he gained admission to the University of Lagos to pursue a degree in creative arts. He added that his mother's insistence led to his return to school. Odunlade Adekola. In 2018, the frisky actor graduated with a degree in business administration from the University of Lagos. In an interview, the actor debunks the claims that he was an absentee student during his time in the institution. Kanayo O Kanayo. The movie veteran's acting prowess earned him a reputation many only wish to attain in the future. Despite being a movie icon and a National Honor awardee, the movie star surprised many when he announced in 2019 that he had graduated with a law degree from the University of Abuja.
Hello, this is Plus Reports. It's where we bring you some of the stories and events that made the news recently. In case you missed out on some of these stories, don't worry, we've got you covered on this edition. Welcome, I am Uime Elijah. The leadership and members of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has issued a 2-week ultimatum to the federal government to resolve the protracted conflict with the nation's university workers and reopen the schools. Chairperson of the Lagos State Chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Fumi Sisi, issued the ultimatum during a protest to the government house in Alausa, Ikeja, in solidarity with the Academic Staff Union of University, ASU. Plus TV correspondent Love Ikuku Oyedoku witnessed it all and brought it back. The report.
The protest kicked off around 7:30 a.m. at Ikeja on the bridge, with thousands of members of the union and its affiliates participating. They walked from under the bridge in Ikeja to Government Secretariat at Alausa, where they met a barricade at the entrance.
Please come out with this way. Lagos State government of the people, by the people and for the people.
They finally gained entrance after much persuasion and peaceful entries.
A government that cares about university education cannot be imposing a corrupt, fraudulent, obsolete, and exploitative IPPIS on the university system. We call for immediate abolition of this and the adoption of UTAS in the university system because it takes care of our peculiarity, university autonomy, and it will not continue the present system where people who are working behind and getting benefit from IPPIs continue to get our own money.
Chairperson of the Lagos State Chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Fumi Sisi, warned that the action could take a new turn if the government fails to conclude all negotiations and agreements with ASUU.
For more than 5 months now, they have been engaging with the government, and government has not been able to resolve the issues. So if government has just come out to come and tell us that within the space of 2 weeks, they will be able to wrap up and conclude, we know that government is just paying a lip service.
The protest afforded human rights lawyer Femi Falana another opportunity to take a swipe on the Buhari administration.
The president is tired. He has said that he's anxious to go back to Katsina. We ask him to rush back home and leave Nigeria in peace. Yes, the president is tired. Boko Haram boys are taking over Abuja. Yesterday there was another attack. In fact, they were going to attack the law school. They killed about 3 soldiers yesterday. We are telling the government that enough is enough. Enough of killings of our people. Enough of strikes in our tertiary institutions.
The protesters were received by the Special Advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Sustainable Development Goals and Investment, Mrs. Sholakwe Hammond, on behalf of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. From Lagos, Lavikuku Uyedoku, Plus TV News.
The 2-day national protest organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress in solidarity with the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other tertiary institution unions has recorded a massive turnout in Kaduna. Students from various tertiary institutions across the state and 46 other unions have also joined the protest to compel the federal government to resolve lingering issues of the strike to reopen universities for academic activities to save the future of Nigerian students and the nation's educational system. Plus TV correspondent Habila Darufal filed this report as presented from our studios.
The protesters converged at NLC Secretariat in Kaduna State and then proceeded to the State House of Assembly to tender their letter for the consideration of the plight of students and lecturers, carrying placards with various inscriptions and chanting solidarity songs. Speaking after tendering the letter at the House, NLC Chairman Kaduna State, Comrade Ayuba Magachi, said that no country develops without a good education system and that the nonchalance of leaders towards education is affecting students.
This honorable protest, or rally rather, is we are pressing home the demand of our place, 4 of them in the public university, in particular ASUU, NASU, SANU, and NAD. The demand is simple. They wanted to see the standard of education, particularly that of the university, is upgraded and is enhanced through the provision of good working conditions for the staffs, through the provision of standard infrastructure for lecturing, for student hostels, and for even staff quarters.
Responding, the representative of the State Assembly, who is the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Isaac Alta, said that the House will do everything possible to ensure that their demands are met, and also assured them of the Speaker's readiness to meet with the government and other relevant stakeholders to the strike actions.
As the chairman of the Northern State Assembly's speakers, he is already in Abuja trying to wade into this very matter on a very sincere note.
Also, the chairman of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, ABU Zaria, Comrade Muhammadu Yunusa, expressed his displeasure over the lingering strike.
Well, election is coming quite all right, and the electorate, that is the people that are going to vote, should understand that these people, most of them that are coming out to contest, their children are not in this university, in these tertiary institutions. Most of them, their children are outside. So I am appealing to our people that in the next coming election, they should ensure that they elect people that are credible, people that have the concern of the masses in their minds.
Some of the lecturers say they won't resume until their demands are met.
The insensitivity of the government towards its non-respected of agreement duly signed, honorably signed by the government. Now they are making it at issue as if they were coerced into signing that agreement. It is rather unfortunate.
Strike have really affected us. We are getting to 6 months at home. And this 6 months at home, a lot of us are doing nothing. And look at the situation of the country. Look at what is happening. Insecurity here and there. Conflict here and there, insurgency here and there, terrorism here and there. The son, the daughter of the poor man is not even being able to give any opportunity. Let me tell you who are the bandits. It is the student, the people that are on ground, the people that are at home. They use them and change their mentality to become the bandits. And now you push us out from the school, out from the institution. What do you want us to become?
The Nigerian Labour Congress insists it will embark on another 3-day warning strike immediately after the protest, in solidarity with the striking lecturers, until the government meets their demands.
Some supporters of the All Progressive Congress, APC, across the South-South geopolitical zone have called on Nigerians to put issues of religion raised against the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate aside. They want Nigerians to look for the best brains to manage the affairs of the country, insisting that religion or ethnic background does not guarantee electoral victory or the delivery of good governance. Our correspondent, JC Ese, has details.
This group is meeting to put its house in order ahead of the 2023 presidential campaigns, and top on the agenda is how to market the APC candidate, Bola Tinubu. The geopolitical zone is mostly controlled by the PDP, and the group admits that there is a lot of work to be done, especially as some leaders of the APC have disconnected from their followers. While such persons are asked to reconcile with their constituents in the overall interest of the party, the group's leadership advises Nigerians to put aside politics of religion.
We are looking beyond the religious matter. What we are looking at is how we can win elections, which I know God will stand on our side to win election. So everything is perfectly well. We are set for the nomination and we are set to win election. Last time I visited Akwa Ibom State, I received members from PDP to APC. Even in this state, we have those that have met me, and they are willing, ready to join us to work and deliver Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
Members of the initiative believe that age comes with experience and that Tinubu is the best bet for the job.
All these ones they are saying Tinubu is more experienced with age. So we need those who are well experienced like him, with age, political experience, who led local Lagos economy to be the highest economy in Africa.
He has told us there that he's going to carry the women along. And hearing this, a lot of women, without even forcing them, they are the ones that are ready and willing with their PVCs to vote her leader.
The various state coordinators of the initiative promised to take the Asiwaju Bola Tinubu message to the hinterlands.
We are working on with this Pastor Ruben initiative. We are going to make sure we go to the grassroots to make sure we deliver our candidates.
Tinubu is going to be our president, 2023. Delta State is a state of APC as I speak, because PDP, they are already gone in Delta State. So if APC is going to rule, it's going to be all over.
It's very important. We don't have any other person. We don't have also an option to deliver Asiwaju Ahmed. We in Akwa Ibom State, we are highly in support of him.
One thing is major for this group. The APC must win at all levels in the 2023 elections. Jesse Ese, Plus TV News.
It's time for a short break now. We will be right back with more stories. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. We move on to security matters. Following the release of a viral video by terrorists showing the victims of the Kaduna-Abuja bound train being flogged by their captors, protesters have stormed the Kaduna State House of Assembly, demanding that the government rescue the remaining 43 victims whose lives have been threatened. Plus TV News correspondent Habila Darufal filed in this report as presented from our studios.
The protesters held various placards chanting songs from the Lugard Hall in Kaduna before proceeding to the State Assembly, barricading the road to the gate. Some of the families of the victims expressed their displeasure at the inability of the government to protect the lives and properties of the citizens. They expressed their disappointment at the manner in which the government is handling the situation and that despite huge resources it claims it has invested in security, Nigerians still cannot sleep with their eyes closed.
Here to register our protest, our plea to the government of the nation, and in particular President General Muhammad Buhari and our Governor Malam Nasir El-Rufai. Our loved ones have been in captivity for the past 120 days and nothing has been heard in terms of their release. Though we've had other things skeletally been done behind, but unfortunately it's not yielding the desired result. And it's obvious. And it's obvious from the videos released about 2 days ago what the captives, the kidnappers have said. They said they don't want the government to come and discuss with them, that the government has failed them, that we as individuals should come and rescue our loved ones. How do we go to rescue our loved ones when our government have failed us? How do we go into where we don't know to go and rescue our loved ones? That's why we are out today to call on the government to do the needful.
They also called on the federal government to redouble its efforts at rescuing the remaining victims unhurt.
I'm calling on behalf of the people in the bush forest. For the past 121 days now, they have been beaten up in the bush. Please, we are calling on the government of Nigeria to please help us to bring them out peacefully, because this one that they are doing to them is not proper. The beat they are beating them as if they are beating goats is not proper. They should please, if their family is there, they could have no one to do now. But since we know that they don't have family there, they should please help us to bring out our loved ones.
These family members are hopeful that their cry will spur the government into action so that those who are still in captivity, including an 85-year-old grandmother, will be delivered soon.
Mental health is just like any other illness, and as such, the society must stop the stigmatization against sufferers of this disease. This was the submission of elite psychiatrist Dr. Kafayat Ogunshola while fielding questions from the newsmen at the 2022 annual general meeting of the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, Ebute Meta Chapter, Lagos State. Plus TV News correspondent Love Ikuku Oyedokun has details in this report.
Mental health is one of the diseases dreaded by society. It affects the cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being of a sufferer. Conditions such as stress, depression, and anxiety can all affect mental health and disrupt a person's routine. The situation usually worsened as a result of societal stigma attached to such conditions. Sufferers get withdrawn and are willing to speak out about their condition or even contemplate suicide. These medical professionals are worried about the increasing cases of the disease.
Doing life itself is filled with a lot of stressors. It could be ill health, it could be life events that one did not see coming. The loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, financial troubles. It could even be the society itself, the economic problems and the challenges in Nigeria is also a major stressor for many of us. So yes, whilst all of this is going, one has to pay attention to the self-care, because if you're here, if you do the list, I did a A to Z of self-care, which includes things like affirming yourself, the ability to breathe, understanding what are the things within your control, focusing on the things that are within your control.
Another issue on the chest of these medical professionals is that of brain drain. They lamented the exodus of Nigerian doctors to other countries for greener pastures.
Globally, but more in this country with respect to the brain drain that we're experiencing presently, we decided to give the team thriving as a professional in the current environment. We know that there has been issue of exodus of doctors, health workers generally, consultants especially in recent time. So we are deciding to look at this, or we decided to look at this matter. Those of us that are here, is it that we are just staying for staying sake, or is there anything that we need to do in order to make sure that we are not left behind?
They called on the federal government to do something urgent to make the environment conducive as well as address their welfare.
When you operate an environment you are operating in, for instance, you are not sure of light, you are, as a surgeon, you have to consider the electricity, consider this in fixing your surgery date. It's not the best. So these are part of the factors that, if addressed, will reduce what we have in terms of the exodus of professionals, doctors in particular.
The theme of the 2022 AGM is Thriving as Professionals in the Current Environment. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyedoku, PlusTV News.
The Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, in collaboration with Alimosho Local Government, Idimu and Ikotun Local Council Development Areas, have organized a program to sensitize the people on the dangers of silence in the face of sexual and gender-based violence. The sensitization program took place in Alimosho Local Government. Our correspondent, Paul George, reports.
Gathered in the hall are mostly women and a few men adorned in T-shirts with the inscription, "It's on us." They've all come out to listen and get more information on different forms of sexual violence.
This is like the first phase of our project at the local government, but we are coming back to also train the WAPA people and also the CDCs and CDA chairmen. Recently, I can say vividly that on an average, we get a case of nothing less than 10 survivors who walk to the office and also who report via the virtual referral platform.
The facilitator, Bose Ironse, says gone are the days when women will keep quiet in the face of threats to life. She speaks alongside others.
The community people need to understand. They need knowledge, they need information to understand what is going on. They need effective reporting pathways for them to be able to know what to do when they are affected in one form or the other. Some people want justice. There are some people they don't really want, they just want anything. It's their choice. But when it comes to children, parents don't have a choice than to report that case, so that the government can take it over.
The purpose of this gathering is to enlighten our men, our women on child abuse and sexual violence. We have some people that have lost their life, they've lost their dignity, they don't have anybody to report to, they don't know what to do, they are ashamed. That's why we come out to enlighten people, to give them confidence of speaking out whenever they experience any difficulty, any abuse, any violence, so that the government can come to their aid.
The first thing is to sensitize the citizenry that they should see something, say something, and do something immediately. We should also include the law enforcement agencies by sensitizing them that once this happens, they don't need to body shame the victim, because sometimes we've had argument that because women are walking naked, that's why they're being raped. But what about the case of a 3-year-old or a 1-year-old? Were they walking naked?
To nip domestic violence in the bud, those affected are encouraged to speak up at the sight of a threat. Paul George, PlusTV News.
It is not a good time for fish farmers in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, as they are currently faced with flooding occasioned by the torrential rainfall that has continued to wreak havoc on their business. The report.
Over 200 farmers whose ponds are located at Ikongbagoro of Ijebu-Ode in Odogbolu local government area have continued to suffer the disaster caused by flooding. Rather than being a blessing, the rainfall to them is a curse on their investments.
Pond at the back there, and this one, and this one in front here. There's no fish inside again. Everything wiped away.
Fish of over 1 year.
Fish of over 1 year. Everything wiped away. Everything wiped away. No fish again. We don't know where we're going to start the business again. We want you to help us. Please help us.
I'm standing here. Over 75,000 kilograms of fishes was swept away from my farm, and I have a lot of workers. Everybody, and I got loan from different sources also. As I'm standing here right now, I'm only standing by the grace of God. And no government, when we graduated from school, no government provided job for us. We are hustlers.
About 5 clusters exist in the settlement, which include Ifeoluwa, Ashejere, Progressive, Joye and Kajola. Catfish worth millions of naira have been lost as a result of lack of basic infrastructure like good road network and proper drainage system to channel the flood waters.
Again, precisely on the 8th of July 2022, this year, we experienced another flood disaster of unimaginable magnitude after the terrestrial rainfall that lasted for several hours non-stop, resulting in huge losses involving more than 5 fish farms cluster, with hundreds of farmers suffering heavy losses in Ifeoluwa, Progressive, Ashejere, Kajola, and Joye.
All they want is the government's responsiveness to their plight.
Several complaints. Official of the NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, and SEMA, Ogun State Emergency Management Agency, approached us for information gathering the losses we incur occasioned by the flood, with assurance to recompense farmers to at least mitigate and ameliorate the losses suffered by farmers. To date, nothing has heard from both agency and collecting our data regarding what we lost.
Mainly because the road is bad, the drainage system is too narrow to accommodate the water, and again, our stream, the Yemule stream, that stream is long overdue for dredging. So we are appealing to the state government, to the federal government, to assist us in dredging that stream so that the waterways can be widened and the depth can also be increased.
All efforts to get the authorities to comment on possible plans to remedy the challenges did not yield results. The farmers are demanding the dredging of Yemule River, immediate reconstruction of Ikongba Road, and self-loans with low interest rate to ameliorate the effects of the damage on their businesses.
And that's all on this edition of Plus Report. But before we go, let's remind you to please follow us at PlusTvAfrica on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I am Uime Elijah. Thanks for watching.
In the real estate industry, design and techniques are the defining factors and foundation of achieving the best construct. Whether in the real estate, oil and gas, or any kind of engineering, many industries utilize 3D modeling for a range of products. Now, using 3D designs enables customers and clients to have a full idea and concept of the proposed 3D structure from start to finish. This is extremely useful for envisioning the final product during pitches or to other stakeholders. On the show today, we will be focusing on the real estate sector with specific emphasis on 3D modeling. Welcome to Business Insight on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye. Welcome back. 3D modeling is a science and art of creating real-life impression and presentation of development proposal. It is a way of mimicking the interpretation of brain-eye combination of human beings. It can be done as physical paper model or as a computer model. Joining us on the show today is Benedict Ebe, architect, 3D interior designer, and he's with AfriBeni Works Nigeria Limited. Many thanks for joining us on Business Insight on Plus TV Africa.
Oh, hi. Pleased to meet you, Justin.
Right, let's talk about this 3D model and design. A whole lot has been said, but to break it down to people watching, what is it really about?
Okay, what we take to site and when we start construction is 2D, what we have on paper. But 3D really exposes you to some things look great in our minds, colors, patterns, and then we end up constructing them in real life. And you find out, not so great, actually. And then what 3D models do for us is, we can change the colors, re-render, you can change the colors, the patterns, whatever you want to do. You can see it in 3D models before you take it to real life. So it's less expensive. You don't have to, the opportunity costs, all those costs, you avoid all of them. So you don't have to break things and you do it on the system before you even go any further. So that's what it has done. It's very futuristic and it's very helpful, trust me.
You talked about futuristic, meaning that is it like a novel idea as it has been practiced for quite a while now?
Oh, funny enough, it has been around for a while. It has been around for a while, but in Nigeria, we've slowly been adopting it. Actually, I know back in architecture school, it's been there. 3D modeling has been there in architecture school, but it wasn't something that was thought in depth. It wasn't taught rather in depth in architecture school. You find out there was so much focus on 2D modelings and sketches because it takes us a little back. But when you check the competition out there, you find out that 3D models have been around since early 2000s. It has been there. That's what they even take it to the next level abroad, where it's not just about visuals now. You can check building credibility. You can calculate the lumens of light that a smart building is supposed to use, so you don't waste so much energy. You can test it on models. You can test lights. You can test its ventilation system. Sometimes we just guess, this place should use 1.5 horsepower AC, should use 2 horsepower, 1 horsepower. But we can test that with 3D models over there. The power you're consuming, so many other things. They do the position of the building. You can use relative to sunlight. Okay, this particular area, using Google Map, you can check, okay, this is the amount of sunlight hitting a particular building at a particular point in time, how much heat the building is generating, and then you can know how much power, how much air conditioning, how much light, stack effects, a couple of things that you can calculate with 3D modeling. That's what has been happening out there. But we're currently adopting now the visual parts of it, and I know we're growing towards that level. And I know in the near future, we'll definitely get to that level.
All right. It has a whole lot of potentials and it looks very, very wonderful.
Yeah.
But in terms of cost, let's talk about cost-benefit analysis right now.
Yeah.
In terms of costing, is it something that is readily available, something that's readily affordable for, architect who might just be starting up?
Okay, it is readily available for architects who... These days, it's there's quality. There's a 3D model, and then there's something we call rendering. Rendering is where we take, you model something, you model a space. I could model this space like this studio where we're in now. We could change a couple of things in the model. But rendering now makes it realistic. So it goes from that cartoon-looking thing, and then you start to edit the materials. Okay, how do walls react. You check this is cement, it doesn't reflect. You take away the reflectivity. You put the grooves in wood, all of these things. So that is when it gets to rendering, that is where it gets heavy, where you need a system that can handle it at the point in time. So for a country like us, I feel 3D modeling is something, during the model stages, you use it to gather funding. You can use it to gather funding, grow as an architect practicing in the industry. You use it to gather funding, but like my father used to say, a workman cannot be better than his tools. Mm. So as you gather funding, you invest in your business, and then you can get some of those systems that improve your rendering subsequently as it goes, because those are the parts that need something expensive. And then people render, you can render 720p picture quality, 1080p, 3K, 4K, all the way to 8K. So it depends on the kind of engine, render engine or computer systems that you have. But you can make money at every level. You don't have to get to the point where you're rendering 4K. It's a ladder. You can render at 720p for some projects. It will come off good. You can use it, a couple of bungalows, a couple of some interior spaces, like a bedroom. Somebody's asking for a living room, a kitchen. You can do that. But you want to do a whole project, a full project. You want to do like a mall or something. You want to do like a commercial space. Then you know that you have to have grown and earn money from doing a living room, doing this, gather money, and then you get the render engine that can do those kind of commercial projects that you're probably hunting for.
Okay, let's talk about the industry really, because a lot of times people believe that architecture as it is some brain tasking, brainstorming kind of field of study, from the university and all of that. Because before now, we were told that you have to be very patient, you have to be very artistic to be an architect. I haven't spent 6 years. But then again, how do you see the industry in Nigeria in terms of, how things are done internationally? Are we really doing things the right way?
Okay, we are doing things the right way. Actually, architecture, I won't lie, is very tasking. And I'm not saying this because I'm an architect. And it takes a lot of patience. I remember in my third year, when I was doing my IT, I was going to stop architecture for one reason.
You're going to stop?
Yes, I was going to stop for one reason. I was doing my IT, I was going to stop for one reason. Oh, wow. It's a very weird reason. Okay, I was working in an office, and that office, they were vetting ShopRite designs. Those times they were designed in South Africa, but when it comes into a new country, it has to be acclimatized. The design has to be acclimatized into the rules, to suit the rules that guide our building sector here in Nigeria. So I had a senior architect. His name is Wally at the time. He was working there at the firm. And he was responsible for designing the car park. When people just come and then you see a car park, you're like, I
didn't know they need to even design.
You have to design a car park because if you're looking at, this particular building is going to have like 1,000 people going in and out at a particular point in time, you now think to yourself, okay, it should have how many people can be in a car? Maybe 4 or 5 people in a car. Yes. Meaning 1,000 divided by 5. It means you should have a car park that can take 200 cars. You understand? Yes.
Oh, wow.
So when you have to manipulate that space to suit 200 cars. If not, you would not get approval or something close to 200 cars. You understand? So there's your turning radius. People don't, there's a lot of calculations. There's a turning radius. You know that, you must have a 9 to 10 meter space for a sedan.
Okay, now you're speaking a whole lot of technical things.
It's like that. So what made me to, I found out that he had this designated space that he had to do so amount of parking. And he was working on that for about 2 months. He'll do the parking, the turning radius, then they'll submit it and say, no, he didn't meet the requirements. Some of the things are wrong. You have to provide for people who can't walk and all of that. You have to create a different kind of car park. All of those things. And I now thought to myself, I'll wake up, get to work 8 or 9 o'clock, and I'm working on a car park from then till 5 p.m. every day for 2 months. Some people can run mad. You need a kind of mental psyche, to be able to. Monotony can kill you in architecture. Some projects, they can give you a project and say, you know what, that project, you can be working on the same project for 6 months. All you know is you wake up in the morning, you're going to the office to do this particular thing. You are seeing the same thing for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So if you don't have the patience, if you don't have the mental psyche to say, okay, this is what I want to do, all you do is sleep, eat, you wake up, you're thinking about your design, you can get very out of touch. So I thought to myself, well, is this what I want to do? Car park for 2 months, So I was thinking, I was very discouraged, but I can be stubborn too, and just say, you know what, I'm doing this and I'm here.
All right.
So that is it. So the question.
The question is,
yes.
How are we doing in Nigeria vis-a-vis in comparison to global standards?
I think we have been doing really nicely. I don't know, for some reason, a lot of architects, the names are skipping my head right now. I can name a lot of architectural firms that have been doing really good. Even in the international, they are getting awards in the international world, in West Africa, in Africa, and even abroad generally. We've been doing well. I feel like we've gone past. We had a phase of not being appreciated. Everybody just feels, I want a 2-bedroom. We can get Babahu to just cut here. What is there?
That's the thing. The Nigerians, the average Nigerians, does the average Nigerian patronize an architect to draw designs for their structures here?
Yeah. Yes. Now
have we gotten to that level?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. When like the island, that's why a lot of people are having that urban shift to the island and parts of the mainland. Ikeja, Magodo, Bagada, a lot of those places, they are really moving into the appreciation of architects. People don't know that, it's one thing to just cut spaces. It's another thing to know that, your bedrooms should face the east, where the sun rises, because when the sun rises, heat is supposed to enter your bedroom to drive you away from bed, while your living room should be cool because it is facing towards the west.
Oh, wow.
You understand?
That's new to me.
Yeah, so during sunset, it has rotated towards the west, and your living room is getting hot, but your bedroom is cooling.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Do you understand? So there are a lot of things that come into architecture. It is not just cutting out spaces. You understand? There are a lot of, so people are starting to realize that. And then the increase in value of land. People now know that I can't just call somebody to cut spaces. When you get to Ikoyi and see that some places are 600,000 per square meter, you can't go and throw a lobby of 5 or 6 meters in a lobby. You realize that, you have done a 30 square meter lobby at 600,000 per square meter. Mm-hmm. How much have you used in the lobby? So that has really pushed people to start to appreciate architects and what we're doing with the space, what we're doing. They need someone who understands space programming, then interior design, anthropometrics, the human form in relation to his environment, some of these things. That has really pushed it. So architecture is really improving in Nigeria. It is.
What more do you really think the government can do in terms of maybe creating a level playing ground, or in terms of, all that is needed to make the industry move forward? What more can be done?
Can be done by the government. Okay, there was something I raised, which is the reason why the course has become so bastardized is because it takes a lot to become an architect in Nigeria. People don't know, but it takes longer than being a medical doctor. Or it does take. It's 4 years BSc, 2 years compulsory masters, and then you serve.
Isn't that a good thing? You come out from school, you already have a master's degree.
But you're not exactly earning.
Okay,
in the
true.
society where we're in, do you you have children? Do you visualize them not earning after 4 years of school?
Not at all.
You understand? So in the field of architecture, you're not really regarded as anything if you don't have your master's. They can. You might even be paid like an IT student.
Is it even possible to be an architect without having a master's degree?
Yes, to an extent. Yeah, okay. That's where I'm coming to, because what is being practiced in America and Canada is, when I finish in 400 level, I'm an architect to a particular kind of level, in the sense that you have approval and accreditation to. I can design a bungalow. I can design maybe a 1 or 2 story building. You understand? Something that falls into